welcome to the Dancing Bear Enlightenment Academy's podcast, Holistic Spiritual Transformation. Today, our special guest is Sensei Nancy Mueller. I think I just butchered her name. Nancy's mission is to create a ripple effect of healing and empowerment, inspiring others to break free from the chains of their past. Her talk today will be Mother Karma. Sounds interesting. So welcome, Nancy. How bad did I ruin your name?
It's all good. It's all good. A rose by any other name, right? People will never remember what you say, but they'll certainly remember how you make them feel. So hopefully you will feel fabulous after this conversation.
Oh, good. So you have an interesting background. Tell us how you got started. What's your transformational story?
Well, my childhood was full of mental abuse, verbal abuse, physical abuse that escalated to sexual abuse by the age of 12. And I always wished that I could fight like Bruce Lee. I am a child of the Bruce Lee era. And I used to think, man, if I could fight like him, no one would ever touch me again. No one would lay a hand on me. I could exact vengeance on people. That was my mindset. And of course, we know what we think about over and over and over as children becomes a belief. And then, our adult self gloms onto that. So that led to me studying martial arts. And that's where the term sensei comes from. The term sensei actually means before born, but in knowledge, not in years. But it's widely known as teacher, means teacher. So that's what I do. I am a teacher of empowerment. I am a teacher of enlightenment. I am a teacher of it is possible to heal your childhood trauma. And then when you think about the things that you went through, you're no longer emotionally triggered by what you went through.
Mm-hmm. That's very important. And there's a lot of triggered people out there these days. So how do you work with people today? What is your process?
Well, I work with people teaching a process that I've called mastering your beliefs, because everything is about what you believe. And of course, a belief is simply something that you think over and over and over again until it becomes a belief. So as children, when we are experiencing something like some kind of trauma over and over and over, we tend to believe that that's what life is all about. That's what life is going to keep serving up to us. And we bring that with us into adulthood. And then we wonder why we keep having these negative experiences in our life, or these unfulfilling relationships, or health issues. And we think it has to do with the physical when it actually has to do with the mental, the mindset, what's going on in the mind. So if you are practicing the mindset portion of healing or how you want to live your life, it's going to greatly impact your circumstances, because circumstances don't matter. State of being matters.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely true. So do you still do your martial arts, or is it more just the mind and the training that you do now?
Well, my business started in 1998 when I was a student competitor and teacher in the martial arts. At that time, I started teaching self-defense outside of the dojo, and I was teaching self-defense classes to women. But as I was teaching the self-defense classes, I was also teaching the mindset portion of it. And I realized that that's what they were really glomming onto. That's what they were taking with them. And it's what was making transitions in their life. So because of that, my business organically transitioned from the physical martial arts to the mental martial arts. And so I no longer am a teacher of the physical, I am a teacher of the mental.
And what specific, there's many, many traditions. What specific tradition is it that you teach?
My style that I was studying is Kenpo, Kenpo. There's Ken like Mary and Ken like Nancy. Mine was Ken like Nancy.
So it's Kenpo, not Kempo. Oh.
Well, there are two. There is a Kenpo with an M
Oh.
and a Ken with an N. Yep.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. What's the difference?
I'm not familiar with the KEMPO, but the KEN, which was my style, is a form of basic street self-defense.
And does that come from Japan?
It actually comes from 5 provinces: Japan, Okinawa, China. It comes from those provinces over there.
Oh, it comes from both. Oh, okay.
Mhm. Yeah.
Hmm. So it's probably just another province from Kempo. I've
Mhm.
only heard Kempo, so that's interesting. Kenpo also.
Well, the
Wonderful.
Kenpo, Kenpo, which is my style of martial arts, that was very widely known in the 60s and 70s. Mr. Ed Parker was the founder of Kenpo, and he taught a lot of the Hollywood elite. So if you go back and you look at like Elvis and anyone of that era who was doing any kind of fighting, they were probably studying with Ed Parker.
Huh, interesting. And so we were talking earlier about how particularly the United States, with martial arts and yoga and a lot of those kind of traditions from the East, that we don't teach the philosophy that goes with it. We just use it as an exercise. So talk a little bit about that. And I know that's my pet peeve with people when they don't teach what you teach.
Well, if you think about, and I'm just talking about women, not men, because there's a different mindset, but with women who have had a very bad scare or have been accosted in some way, they're looking for a way to defend themselves. And because this is a past experience or something they fear that will happen, this is where their mindset is.
Mm.
So they may want to take a self-defense class, a physical self-defense class, thinking that that will solve all their problems. But the thing is you want to look at what are the beliefs behind it? What are the beliefs that are causing you to fear? And is it because you've experienced something, you've been accosted, something's happened, and you fear it happening again? Or is it because of something that you're seeing in the news or on social media, and you fear that, you have a fear-based belief about it, and it's causing you to go looking for this physical solution? But everything happens in the mind before it happens in the body, before it happens outside of the body. And if you are in that energy, because everything is energy, as you know, if you are in that energy, that vibration of fear, and you put in a lot of thought into, oh my gosh, I'm so afraid that this is going to happen, and that's where your thoughts are, chances are you're going to attract something into your life, some type of circumstance that's going to put you in that position. So understanding that what you think about is so very important, because what you think about is attached to a feeling and an emotion. And those feelings and emotions create your vibrational frequency. And that vibrational frequency is what's going out into the universe and attracting back to you the circumstances. So that's basically the cause and effect. Understanding all of that, you can see how important it is when you know what the belief is. What is the belief that you're thinking about? What is the fear-based belief that you have? And let's get to work on that and master that belief. That makes a difference.
Yeah, it does. And I've noticed that because of a lot of I'm not going to say unfounded beliefs, they're probably founded, but maybe in childhood or they've been programmed into them. It's caused a lot of people to be triggered these days. Talk a little bit about that triggering and how can you help with that?
Well, that's one of the reasons that I titled this particular topic Mother Karma, because karma is the emotional work that you came here to do, that your soul came here to do. We all have some type of karmic contract. So when you think about it, whatever your soul decides, this is what I want to accomplish, let's say, when I am in human form. When we are still in that soul experience, we choose the people that we want to help us on our journey. So we choose our parents, we choose our mother, we choose our father, we choose what happens, and not what happens, but we choose the people which is the other souls, who will oblige us. So in my case, before I understood this, I was a child believing that all of this trauma was happening over and over and over. And you tend to take that with you into adulthood, and you look back and you relive the trauma every time you think about it, because you think about this abuse and that abuse and this experience, and it just keeps triggering over and over. And especially if it's coming at the hands of one or both of your parents, you're tending to blame them. So the sexual abuse for me was the father's side, and the physical and verbal abuse was from my mother. So there was a lot of anger in me and blame, thinking, my mother should have protected me. My mother should have done something different. She should have made different choices. But each teacher that I studied with helped me to understand that as long as I was sharing that story from a painful place, whereas I kept talking about it and then crying about it and feeling like that's who I am and I have a right to talk about this, but you just keep putting that energy out there, and that nothing gets solved. And sometimes for a little while you can think, okay, well, I can handle being around my parents, and then you go where I can't handle being around my parents. So we want to get off of that emotional roller coaster. We want to get off of that I can do it, I can't do it, I can do it, I can't do it. And I speak to a lot of people, and when they hear about what I do, they say, oh yeah, that I have totally done all that healing work. But then in the next breath, they'll talk about how much they can't stand their mother or how much they stay away from their mother. And there's nothing wrong with distancing yourself from one or both parents if that's what your journey, if that's what your karmic journey calls for. But if you're staying away because you're in resistance, then you're not owning the feelings and the emotions. And we can't heal what we don't own. So we have to own it. We have to feel it. And when you do the healing, then you will be able to think about the experiences without the emotion, without being triggered emotionally. And if someone had told me that, gosh, before I understood all of this, I would have stood toe to toe with them and told them that they're crazy. How is it possible to think about what happened and not be angry about something or ashamed or whatever those feelings and emotions are? I would not have believed it was possible. But fortunately for me, I had some excellent, excellent teachers, and they were very patient, and they guided me and they encouraged me. And, when I first started this journey, I started because one day I just woke up and I thought I was having a mental breakdown. I was having horrible nightmares that probably would put Stephen King to shame. And I just didn't understand where they were coming from. So I thought I was losing my mind. So I went to therapy, and I was in therapy. But going through therapy then led me to the spiritual side, and going back to my roots, I guess, that from the things I was learning in the martial arts. And as I was able to marry the two, I could understand where the physical is about this and the mental is about this. And when you understand how they come together to create contrast, now you have a choice. Which one do you want to choose? And knowing that you have a choice, man, that's empowering.
Yes, it is. I've had a lot of people get really angry at me when I say you chose your mother and your father. I never would have chosen them. Okay, you need to work on you need to work on that.
No, it's true. And I remember one of my teachers when he, was teaching that to me. And I said, whoa, 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 wait a minute. So you're telling me that I chose to be sexually molested, and I chose these beatings, and he said, you're absolutely right. And I was like, I actually can remember, and I was recently had a conversation with him, and I said, back then, many years ago, when the first time I heard you say that, I was so angry. I wanted to get up and really just smack you. And he said, good, good. And I said, I know. And that can sound, someone who hasn't done the work, that can sound like, what do you mean? So your teacher made you feel so mad you want to get up and slap them?
Yeah.
But that's when you're owning your feelings. That's when you're really starting to bring it to the surface.
Yeah.
And I really suggest to people that if they're going to do this work, sit in a room by yourself and have a really big pillow. And that way, when you sit down and you start to own your feelings, if you need to punch something, you've got that pillow there.
Oh,
But if you need to hold on and hug something,
you got the
you've got
pillow.
that pillow there. Yeah, so either way, you're good.
I tell people to go look in the mirror and look directly into their eyes and say, I love you. And I coached someone with that recently, and she said, I can't do that. Then,
Yes,
yes, you
it's
can.
amazing to me how many people say they can't do that. I've
Yeah,
had many clients say the same thing to me. I can't do that. I've tried and I can't do that. And of course, can't.
you
It's a
can't.
belief.
Yeah,
It's a belief as well.
yeah.
And so whenever you realize, and that's why I love teaching people about mastering your beliefs, because everything is a belief. Every choice you make is based on a belief. So when you think you can't do something, stop and ask yourself, what must I believe is true in order for me to have this line of thought or to be having these experiences? And when you sit with that question, your higher self, the universe, God, however you look at all of this, will give you the answer. Now, here's
Mhm.
where we kind of go south on that, because when the answer starts to come to us, we resist it because we are used to blaming. No, I don't want to take onus. I'd rather blame my mom or my dad. And so what's interesting for me is another reason that I like to call this mother karma is because um, my mother and I were pretty much estranged from the time I got married and left home, and I did that at 17. So I don't know, years ago, she reached out to me. I live in California, she lives in Ohio, and she reached out to me and she said, I see what you're doing on social media and what you're teaching these women. Do you think that might work for us? And after I picked myself up off the floor, I
Oh,
said, well, yeah, it's possible. And that's where I went on to write my second book titled Healing the Child Within. Life is all about choices. Because as my mother and I did this work together, I felt guided to write a book for others. And it doesn't mean that when you're doing this work that you might come together in a kumbaya moment with your mother. I mean, it's possible to do this work without even having anything to do with your mother. Your mother could be on the other side of the world. She could have transitioned. You have the power to do this work and you alone. And that's all it takes.
yeah. My parents, I have a similar story as you from my childhood, and both of my parents were so abusive that it got so bad. I won't tell you the whole story, but it got so bad I couldn't talk to him. And I didn't talk to him for 5 years. And it wasn't just me, it was my other siblings as well. I mean, it was a problem. And then I do a lot of shamanic work. My animals came to me and said, you have to talk to your mom. I don't want to talk to my mom. You have to talk to your mom or we won't work with you anymore. Okay.
Mhm.
You tell me that. Okay, I'll do it. Whatever you say. I called her and we made up. It was a whole different energy. And we started, when she started going down that typical path she went down, I had enough boundaries and skill set by then that I could pull it back. And then I made up with my dad. And 2 months later, my mother died. I was so glad we had made up before she died because it's so
Mhm.
much easier to do it face to face. Because I went and visited her and I saw her before she passed. It's so much better than if they go, then you're left with all this guilt that you never resolved that while you were still alive. So I think it's really important for people, even if they're just unbelievable, terrible, because when I was with my dad, he started pulling this old crap. Like one of the things he blamed me from when I was 6 months old as a baby, nursing on my mother, and she got a breast infection. And my whole life, he yelled at me because she got a breast infection when I was 6 months old. And he started pulling that crap, and I just laughed. Oh, Dad, I was just a baby. That was it. He never again tried any kind of abusive crap with me. And so when you learn that communication skills, who you are, you set clear boundaries, then those old relationships disappear.
Yeah.
And it's
And
like
we don't
magic.
realize, yeah, we don't realize if we do not do that healing, we are then passing on
Mhm.
whatever we've learned to our children and generations after that. And I think that's one of the things that I'm most proud of is the fact that when I chose to do this work, when I chose to do the inner work, it not only changed me, but it changed how I parent my daughters, who are in their 40s now. And I am so blessed that I have beautiful, beautiful, wonderful, healthy mindset children, daughters, grandchildren, and great grandchildren.
Nice. Well, I love the work you do. I think it's really important. I think a lot of women need what you're doing. So good on you for doing that. So let's see, you have a special gift. It's called Turning Your Negatives into Positives in 4 Easy Steps. So tell us about that wonderful gift.
I do, because one of the things that is so important when you're feeling that negative energy, and I talk about energy a lot. So let's just say a negative feeling. You're feeling sad, you're feeling like you want to blame someone, anything that is causing you to feel that angst or that anger inside of you, you can't flip a switch and just say, oh, I'm just going to be happy right now. So it's important to understand how to turn those negatives into positives, because if you really want to do the healing work, you want to start it from a place of positivity. And if you're having difficulty getting there because you're really mired in what has taken place in the past, this is a great step by step. This is how you get to that happy place and then stay in that happy place. And not only that, every time you tend to go backwards, how to bring yourself forward.
Nice. Okay. So those of you who are on YouTube, I'm going to post the link down below. And if you're listening to the podcast, the link is masteringyourbeliefs.com/free. Oh, I spread the words out and I put freed together. Okay, let's start that over because I just can't. I messed myself up. So it's masteringyourbeliefs.com/free downloads. So masteringyourbeliefs.com free downloads with a slash between the com and the free. Um,
And of
so,
course, if you go to masteringyourbeliefs.com and just click on the resources page, all that stuff is there too. So
oh, okay,
has everything
good.
that you need.
Well, that's good to know since I messed up reading. Yeah. So, do you have any closing words for our audience?
I'd like to leave you with this parting thought. I'd like you to think about the fact that we all came here to be the source of something, either the source of anger or the
Mhm.
source of happiness. Likewise, everyone else came here to be the source of something for someone else. So you can either choose to be the source of anger for someone else, or you can choose to be the source of positivity. Either way, life is all about choices, and the choice is yours.
Oh, good. Yes, that's so true. Well, thank you for being our guest today. And thanks to all of you listening. We appreciate it. And if you would give us a like and subscribe, we would appreciate that as well. So
It
we will
doesn't.
see you again next week, or you can join our live meditation on Thursday night. So remember to be the light you want to see in the world.